welcome to part 2 of the Power Hour. If you missed part 1, go back, listen to last week's show, and you'll get caught up. Welcome to the show. So that brings us to the second domain of being, right? Being, for me, well, let me ask you, Shane, what is being for you? Everybody kind of similar, but yeah.
You know, being to me is the time that I set aside to connect with God, right? And some people uh, prayer, some people do a lot of meditation during that time period. Some people do the stacking and the talking to God. For me, I mean, walking and talking with God was good, and talking out loud helps a lot. For a long time, I just did prayer, but I found when I just did prayer, I did sort of the
Right.
rote prayers, where you're just saying the same thing over and over. So there's no conversation. And uh, when I added trying to have a conversation with God, first I tried to do it in my head, which didn't work because that's not a conversation.
Right.
That's me thinking to myself. But actually saying it out loud worked well for me. Um, I know some other people who do,
Mhm.
read the Bible, and that's their connection to God. I think for me, I needed some kind of activity though with it. That's why the give and take of having the conversation, the walk and talk with God, works well uh, for me, kind of deal. But that's helped me out a lot. Meditation's always
Right.
been super hard for me, so I'm not the guy who can meditate for 30 minutes, right? Meditation for me is more like 5 to 8 minutes. And part of it's just because it's so hard for me to settle down into that that nothingness kind of thing, and my thoughts intrude and all that. So that's being to me is my connection with God, and then sort of because it's an attempt also to get to that stillness and
Yeah.
quiet where you get ideas, uh, which I think God gives you, but you get that through
Mhm.
meditation as well. Now, how does
So I
being work
love
for you?
the way you described all of that, and you hit on the fact that it's there isn't there's several ways, right? There's several options, right? Because sometimes people will be like super into this is the way it is, this is how, and they think that everyone else is the same. The reality is, it's just we're saying instead of being, we're taking 20 minutes and we're going to dedicate that time to connecting to source, right? To God, to the voice inside of you, to inspiration, right? For me, I do scripture and then I journal, right? We teach a very specific way of journaling here at the Legal Edge called the stack. And I jump right into what's called the Bible stack. So I will read scripture, and then my goal, I'm, and this wasn't always this way, but right now, I've read scriptures a lot, right? My whole life, especially over the last probably 2 or 3 years, quite a bit. And I realized I was reading them, but I wasn't getting a whole lot of depth into it, meaning I didn't feel that connection to God through it. It was just like reading it and then reading it to do it, like more like I was checking a box, right? So part of my power hour right now is ensuring that I can actually extract how do I apply this scripture to my life, which by doing that, and when I go into the journaling part of it, this is where it becomes a dialogue between God and I, right? And it's the connection into that scripture, that reference, for me to be able to hear him, feel him, and just calm myself down, have peace, and experience this connection to source. I know a lot of people have a hard time with being. There's a lot of people that come into our ecosphere, Shane, that the very idea of connecting to God or saying, "Hey, have you ever heard God's voice?" It's null and void, right? They're like, I've never experienced this.
Yeah,
And sometimes the concept of God is so hard because it's abstract to some people. What I'll always do to help kind of somebody who's starting out and figuring out this game for the first time is really like, listen, let's take all of the dogma out of it, every part of the dogma out, and let's just get to one thing. Let's connect to you, right? It's into you. We all have the voice inside of our head. As you and I've been doing this show, I've got a voice inside of my head, right? You've got a voice inside of your head. People, you guys listen to the show, you have a voice inside of your head that's saying something. There's what you're hearing us say, and then there's the voice inside that's either validating or saying we're crazy or whatever it is. They might be distracted by something else, right? We have that voice. So that's usually what I'm like, okay, if you don't, yeah, this you're just stepping into this first time. We're just saying, hey, take 20 minutes and connect. What are we connecting to? Connect to you.
yeah.
Connect to your thoughts. Connect to the things you see, you feel. Cool part is, I know you do this a lot, Shane. I've done it a ton too. When you're on the walk, that's a lot of times where you can also connect, right? So it's a very
It
when you're
is.
in motion, it helps to do that. I'll do that. Sometimes I will literally put my headphones on and I'll play the scripture through audio and I'll just go for a walk. So while the scripts are going, I'm walking, and then I'll sit down, pull out the journal, and I do it on my phone. pull out the journal, and then I go through this journaling process to connect. My goal for the as part of the power hour inside of the being is just to find a best way I can say is like a peace pocket, right? Because life is stressful. All of you guys have stressful lives. You're in an industry that said, "Hey, I've chosen stress." Right. And so the ability to slow down, connect to your inner thoughts is actually a very valuable tool. This is something you have to develop over time. No different than what you're talking about with meditation, right? That version of meditation for you of just, sitting back in the chair, putting the fingers up, right, whatever that is, right? That's not a skill set that you have, and it doesn't work for you the same way as other people that does work for
Right.
them. Like, yep,
Right. It works great for them. Yeah. But it never worked well for me. It was sort of like banging my head
yep,
into a wall over and over. Right. So, um, especially when I tried to engage in it a long time. Now, what I have done, and I find there's a lot of value in it, is honestly just
yep,
5 minutes of that. And whereas other people will say, hey, when some idea comes into your head, just let it flicker away. I don't do that. I actually, when I meditate, I have a pencil and paper next to me. And if an idea or a thought pops in that's like a valid thought, right?
right,
Not like my knee
right,
hurts, but a valid thought about business or an idea or something else, I'll write it down. I'll write it down and then I'll move back into my meditation because then I don't have to spend half my meditation trying to remember
yeah,
this thought that is important to me. Because I believe, whether you want to say God gave it to me, Jesus, or my own self or the universe gave me this idea to work on, I don't want to lose it because a lot of times it is a valid idea. So I'll write it down, then I can go back into it, see if I can get anything else because I need quiet when I meditate. I don't need, a lot of any kind of
yeah.
things will distract me and pull me away. 100%. Like I can't meditate once my wife and kids get up because there's just background noise, right? And it pulls me, zips me right out. So I think there's a lot of value in, hey, meditate, 5 to 7 minutes, and then roll into whatever your
Mhm.
stacking is or the journaling is or things like that. And I think that works super well. If you're a coffee drinker, that's a
Yep,
great time to get your coffee. Do your meditation, have your journal prompts ready, go get your coffee, then sit down and
yep.
journal and stack at that. Um, Nowadays, I do a lot of mine while walking, but that's honestly just because I have a puppy in the house. So, I'll do some audio recording or audio
Yeah.
journaling on mine, and
Yeah.
that works well for
So,
me.
and there's the really, it's like anything else out there. The only wrong or the only bad meditation is the one you didn't do, right? The only bad connection is the one that you didn't even try to do, right? And so I think that really brings us. And this is what here's a visual that might help because this has always helped me, right? I believe like this is my mindset says, okay, I think God's sitting at like a 30,000 view of my life. He sees what I don't see. I can go outside out of the house and go to the road and I can look down the road and I can see both directions just as far as my human eyes can see. But as the road turns, I can't see anymore. God can see the road turn. He also sees what's on the other side of it. He also sees 700 turns past that. So it's for me, it's my daily process of being able to connect to that source to help me see what I can't see, to inspire me to take moves and to take actions. And these thoughts that you have, right? You're doing it for 5 minutes or so, and all of a sudden you get this thought as inspiration. I've watched you, Shane, over the last 2 years specifically, have some of these thoughts and inspirations that came to you, and it's completely changed the trajectory of Shane Smith Law. You have literally
Yeah,
made
no, I mean,
critical business decisions based upon the time we're talking about right now. And I reason I say that is I don't want people to just think, I guess oh, it doesn't really matter. This is like foo-fa. This is crazy, spiritual, churchy crap. We don't want. It's not what we're talking about. This is mission critical. Your ability to connect into the intuition that you have, who you are, and to connect to what I like to call the God power. Right, that's the power between you and God. This connection that exists there, and then to be able to go down the road and make the turns along the path that need to be there. This is one of the I can't think of any other way that is more powerful in being able to pull it off. I look at the moves I've made in my life over the last 2 years. Every single big decision, every big move, it was not my idea. It didn't come. Yeah.
yeah. And it, when I think that's part of the key to realize, depending on where you're at on your journey and where you're at spiritually, is somewhere
Yeah.
something gives you ideas, right? But I think a lot of times we shift into, especially as lawyers,
Yeah.
noise, right? There's noise, there's movement, there's action. We're never still And that's why I think the being part is so important, whether it's a walk and a slow walk like I do, whether it's meditating, whether it's even journaling to some extent, you're slowing down, you're calming, and you're allowing whatever that source of your inspiration is,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's God, whether it's Jesus, whether it's yourself, or I think it's easy to visualize, especially in the beginning, that idea person is so used to us shutting
Hmm.
them down and not listening that they
Yeah.
talk almost tentatively, right? It's quiet, it's whispered. You have to pay attention and you have to encourage it and ask questions and stuff. And I think as we do more of this, you get that voice gets more sure, more certainty, or we just start listening, and and then it gets easier. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
it's quiet, right? Those ideas are quiet, and you got to pay attention. And if you're just listening to noise all
Yeah,
the
dude,
time,
that's a
you
great.
don't
That
hear
was a
them.
great. I've never heard it described that way, dude. That was great. That was awesome. Like, it is timid because, like, if you think about it, most of us we push it away because we're so arrogant and we are so noisy that we just flat out don't listen to anything that's not like boistering loud right in our face, and we miss
Right.
it, and we miss
Yeah.
all these little critical moves that could have happened, these inspired thoughts that we could have done, things we could have created that we don't happen. I love that. I love that. The way you describe that.
Well, well, it's because I lived it. Because I know some people in some of my groups. They're like, God talks to me, bam, easy, right? Like He says stuff to me, and I hear it. And for the longest time, I was like, well,
Right.
dude, God didn't talk to me that way. He never just comes out in a loud voice with all these words and clear and says, here's the plan, Shane. Just open it up and go execute it, right? For me, it was always, and I realized a long time it was that I wasn't listening. He was a much better listener, and he'd encouraged uh, God or himself to give him
Yeah.
feedback louder and more certainty than I was. And I hadn't listened to anything for years. So I had to train mine up and get better at listening and,
Yeah.
be
I
receptive,
think
I
something
guess, and
would be
encourage
helpful
it
for
all.
people
So,
too, is helpful for me, is realizing that your spiritual muscle is no different than any other muscle. If I want to become good at the piano, I've got to
yeah.
do it over and over and over every single day for a few minutes every day. If I want to become good at listening to that inspiration, listening to the voice and that creative side of me, then I have to do it a little bit every single day. And this is that part that puts you in that position, right? As we kind of wrap up the being. So we're 40 minutes
I was gonna say,
into our power hour, right? We got 20 minutes in.
and what is the action item for being? What do you recommend they take for it? If you're brand new to this, Trevor, what would you say go do for
This
your
one
20
is
minutes?
tough to give clear directive because everyone is so different. The easy default that I've always pushed people through is meditation, but I'm also very aware that some people have never
Okay.
meditated a day in their life. So what I would probably say if I had to, I'm going to push it to meditation, even though I know some people ultimately won't meditate long term. The directive is find a meditation. I'm going to give you a great place to go look for one. It's called the Headspace app. I think it's $10 a month, something like that. And it has like 632 billion meditations in there, like everyone. So you could try a different one every single day if you wanted to do. But that's going to be your critical. Now you find the time frame that works for you, right? For you may want to meditate the full 20 minutes. Um, what I'm going to tell you is just meditate at all, right? Whether it's
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say if you've never meditated at all, what worked for me uh, was 5 minutes
yeah,
meditation and 15 minutes of journaling. I think that is for me that worked well, but part of it's because meditation was super hard for me. So, but the journaling is where I formulated my ideas and worked through them. But I think either one works. So, Calm app for 20 minutes, or do
yeah.
mine 5 minutes of
Yeah, you'll
meditating and
know
15
your
minutes of journaling.
number because when you get into it, I think the minimum is that 5 minute window, and then whatever the time remaining, whenever you pull out of that, so when you meditate. And just understand, you're gonna be if this is not something you're used to doing, you're gonna be like if you've ever seen a Great Dane as a puppy. They're the most hilarious dogs in the world because they're so uncoordinated and so clumsy. They're running into everything. They can't even move. This is how you're gonna feel. This is exactly how you're going to feel because this you're not you will I guarantee you will get day one meditation, try and do some journaling. You're going to be like, what on earth did I just do? That was a kind of a waste of time. I did not get anything out of this. Right? You're going to be clunky. You're going to be uncoordinated. You're not going to you got to learn. So this is part of trusting the process of realizing you got to develop the skills to get there, which yeah, again, that's just following the process that we're talking about here. We're more than halfway done with our power hour. We're only two domains in. That brings us into our third domain. This domain we're going to fly through on the show real quick because yes, it's a big domain. This is balance. right? And when we say balance, we're not talking about living a balanced life. We're talking about your relationships, right? It's that relationship with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents, with any, like anyone that you have a relationship with. This could even be, team members that you have there at the firm, like anyone, right? These are those relationships. We could spend 16 shows just talking about balance and the impact and the things that you need to do, and how you can create gamified ways of building the life that you want with your significant other, with your spouse or your partner, etc. But for the intents of this, what we're trying to create is that, again, that power and inside balance. Let me give you an example of what I did for balance today. So there's a man who's very influential in my life. He's a spiritual leader. I've really grown to love this man. And his son, he just sent his son about 2 weeks ago on a church mission. So son's 19, I think, 18, 19, maybe 20, something like that. But he just sent his son. His son went out and chose he wanted to do it. So he went on this mission. And it's been about 2 weeks since he sent him. And I pulled up my phone this morning, and he just was on my mind. And I was like, oh, I'm going to send him a quick little message. And so I just texted him something. I don't have my phone sitting in front of me, but it was, in essence, it was basically like, hey, Todd, just checking in, man. Hope everything's going well. I know Garrett just went out on his church mission, and I just wanted you to know he's lucky to have a dad like you. I'm lucky to know you, and I wanted to say thank you for the influence you've been on me. And I know that's spilling over to your son. How are you? Give me a check in when you get a few minutes. So that was a text that I sent to him. So that was I went the opposite way on explaining this one than I have the other two domains, and really I went with the action. That was what I did, right? Why did I do that, Shane? What is that? What is the balance side of this? Why did I send that text?
I so there's two versions, and one is sort of the junior version, one is sort of the experienced version. The junior version is to let somebody else know you're thinking about them and just out there, which is okay. But the other one is just for you to think about somebody else and
Yep.
expand your connections, right? Like, I think there's tremendous value in deliberately thinking about your children and your spouse at a set time where you're thinking about things you're grateful for, you're happy for, you're thankful for, versus only concentrating on the bad stuff, right? Or deliberately setting around time to think about your key partners, those key relationships, your partners in your business, your key employees, your friends, your mentors, things like that. You set aside that time, and I think it helps you a lot just to say thank you. And honestly, most of us don't get any thanks
Yeah.
most of the time anyway
Yeah.
for anything. I mean, other than oh, you did something for me, great. You drove 3 hours and you changed my tire that you probably paid for, and now you're driving back home. Thanks, I appreciate it. Well, shit, that's worth, is that worth 6 hours of my time? Probably not. Um, you know, uh, so that's what I think it really is. I think it makes us appreciate what we have in our lives and encourage
Yeah.
that. That's the key part. And then the sub part is, you're sending that out to people and they appreciate it, even if they don't say anything or not. I think the key though is that text reduced to no value if he doesn't respond to you or give
Yeah,
you a call, Trevor? Or
it has zero
what are you
impact.
expecting out of it?
I don't care if he responds. He's a very busy man,
Yeah,
and he may not ever respond to it. And I didn't send it because I wanted an expectation of a return on it, right? It was like, who do I want
right,
to bless with gratitude? But more importantly, I wanted to bless me with gratitude. And this sounds like I'll twist it, right? Like almost like I'm manipulating it. But I have found that this is why every text that we talk about when we're talking about this power hour. So part of it, let me dive just real quick. That's all you're doing. When we are investing in the balance, this is 5 minutes or less. You're choosing two people every single
right,
day that you're going to send a text to. If you're married, it's your spouse. If you got kids, probably your kids. You might rotate through. It's always your spouse. You're just sending a gratitude text. Some of you guys are married and you've
right,
never even told your wife thank you for the bajillion things that she's doing for you on a regular basis. And
right. I love, honor, appreciate, and
yep.
thank you for something, right? Those usually are the key. I love you for this, or honor you for this. I appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh yeah,
Right?
and that's it. And it's
That's
it's
it.
not big. It doesn't have to be drawn out. And I'll tell you right now, when I first started doing this with my wife, she thought it was weird. She was like, "What? Why are you keep sending me these?" Right? And it wasn't that she didn't want to receive them. She actually loved receiving them, but she felt like there must be some hidden agenda that literally that I was trying to get
Yeah.
laid. or I had done something wrong and I was trying to like butter her up so that when she found out about the wrong thing, it was less, or I was just doing it out of obligation. So it took a while because I wasn't the guy
Yeah.
that invested in my wife that way.
Well, and I think that's the key on this one is this one
Yes.
takes a long time. People, and I'm going to say men in particular are like, oh, I've turned over a new leaf. Boom, you should forget all the garbage I did before. Now I'm doing these grateful messages, and I should see those results super
Yeah.
quick. That's not how this works. This is not a text message to get you out of the doghouse. This is just making slow deposits like compound interest. It's going to take some time for it to
Yep. And
happen.
it's a lot of time and
I mean,
it won't be received. And if I was only doing these so that my wife was getting something like it was for her and it was like I expected her to, oh, thank you so much for my text message, or I needed a response from her. I do all of a sudden I'm fighting against myself. I'm doing it for the wrong purpose of intention because I expected something back in return. And it took years to get to where my wife genuinely believed that when I said, thank you so much for folding the laundry and putting my underwear in the underwear drawer, I really appreciate being able to go there every morning, pull the drawer out, and there's just magically underwear there. I know it's not magic. I know it's you. Thank you for doing that. Right.
oh well, my wife, for my wife, I wrote it on a
Mhm.
3x5 note card, right? My little note. She uh, likes that. I started doing it, and not a lot of response, right, for a long time, and then I skipped a week, and it was
Right.
like, hey, where's my note card? Where's it at? You know, and then I opened up her pantry, her medicine cabinet, and I see a stack of note cards, Trevor, about this big, all just
Yeah.
stacked up. She keeps all the dang things and has for years. She says she feels silly, but she wants to keep them, right? And then my boys, I send them a text message, and I have for,
Yeah.
I don't know, years, right? Especially when they don't have to college. When they were in the house, sometimes they posted notes or whatever, but in college, I started sending text messages, and one of my kids never responds. Like, right, one out of 200
Right.
text messages will respond. But so I'm like, should I quit doing this or whatever? Then I bump into one of his college friends and he goes, oh, you're the dad that sends this kid a text message every day. And I'm like, well, he
Yeah.
clearly talks to people about it. I mean, which is kind of wild. So it's like you say, you're not going
Yeah.
to get a response all the time, and
Now,
probably you
if
shouldn't
you get
expect a
one,
response.
great, but that's not why you're doing it. Right. And there is things that happen that it's hard for me to explain why they happen. No different than your wife keeping the cards, right? It's there is like a
Oh
and
yeah,
there's a connection that is made there with something so simple. I mean, how long does it take to genuinely
well,
send a gratitude text to somebody?
and if you say, and I'll tell you this too, if you're having issues with your spouse or one of your kids, if you do an I'm grateful for 30 days in a row, it goes away.
Nope.
I don't want to say the problem goes away, but you quit focusing on the 5% that they irritate you on, and you start
Well,
focusing on
dude,
the
I
95%
learned
you
that
love.
that principle you just said years ago, and it was because my wife has a habit of doing a certain thing that triggered me. I don't know why it triggered me, but it's very annoying to me, and I would get triggered every time she would do it. And it's stupid because she's serving me, but it was triggering me how she was doing it. Here's how it would go down. I'd work hard all day, just like all of you do. I'd get home and she'd have dinner ready. We'd eat dinner and it'd be great. Everything's good. And then it's like, it's like 9:30, time for bed. I go walking into the bedroom and there's like three piles of laundry that are unfolded, that are clean, that are sitting on the bed. Right. And that would trigger me so bad. I don't know why. I think I was just tired. Who knows? And I would just nitpick. I would say some snide remark to her. I would do something, which was guaranteeing that no intimacy was going to happen. And it was also hurting her feelings deeper than I ever could have known. Right. But and I knew that I
Right.
didn't want to feel that way. And so I went on the gratitude. And I talked about the stack and the being, right? We have a stack called the gratitude stack. And I went on this gratitude stack 30 days and I did a gratitude stack, which is basically journaling about being grateful for my wife. I didn't share a single one with her. I just did it every single day. And I just found, the rules I gave myself, you can't repeat yourself. So if I've already said that I'm grateful for
Yeah.
doing the dishes, I can't say that again. If I say I'm grateful that she takes lyrics to dancing back, I can't use that again, right? So I could never repeat. And to be totally honest, I thought it would be hard. I thought 30 things Every day I'm like, this can be hard. No, I actually found it to be very easy. I started to see all these things. By the end of the 30 days, my wife hadn't changed at all. She had changed nothing. Her patterns were the same. There was still laundry on the bed. That was just, I don't know, that was her thing. She just liked to do it that way. All nothing changed except I didn't see it anymore. All I saw was that my wife
Right.
was a freaking superstar and all she did was serve me. Like literally all the time. That's all she did. And how did I do it? Well, I put intention in it. And it takes just a few minutes every single morning as part of the power hour to start identifying these power things. That's such a great example because I didn't even share those with her because I didn't want her to think it was a weird thing that I was doing. I didn't want her to even involve. I didn't even want her to know that I was trying to process through this because it was my own problem. It wasn't her. I knew she wasn't doing anything
Right.
to me. It was like the opposite, right? And so when we talk about balance and we talk about what you need to do, it's two people. And you're sending a gratitude text to them every single day. Every single day. If it has the word
Yeah.
day at the end of it, guess what? You're sending the text, right? You send that text. It's very simple to
Yep.
execute. It takes just a few minutes. And I've had people I tend to rotate through. So this is what gets kind of tactics of what you need to do. If you're married, it's your spouse always. I'm taking that choice away from you. It's spouse. Spouse is always person number one. The second one, this is where I'll give you a little bit of adjustment if you want, right? I know you, Shane, you go through your boys. Like I'll do my
Yeah.
daughter, my son, but I will also rotate out of my family. I will rotate like the example from today, right? To Todd, who just has had a big influence on my life. And so I will choose someone, but I have received, and again, we're not doing it for the receive, but I have received back from people things saying, wow, I I didn't even know you that this like impacted you. Like I had no wow. Like they just these responses where they're like,
Yeah.
whoa. And for some people, dude, you think about it, you said it, we don't get gratitude from hardly anywhere in anything. It just it just
No, you
doesn't
don't.
come.
I
And
mean,
so if you're consciously trying to do that, and now all of a sudden though, what it does and what it's done for me is it shifts my mindset. So now when I'm out and about, I'm doing life, right? I'm at the office, I'm doing the things. I have gratitude inside of me. It's just there in a much higher way, which means I'm more patient. I'm more my anger stays at bay a whole lot easier because my mind is just seeing gratitude. It's just seeing things to be grateful for. So it takes time, but you'll start to train or reframe yourself into this place. So for you, spouse. If you got kids, great. Kids is person number two. It's very simple. Two text messages every single morning. We've got our body handled. We handled our being. We get our meditation, our journaling, and then boom, we'll just pull out our phone and we're doing those two texts. Or like you do with your wife, you could do a little post-it note, 3x5 card. It's some kind of gratitude you're going to give them. I know my wife actually so I was doing this with her, and then she started doing it to my children, right? And this was from my example. And so
yeah.
she would make my daughter's lunch for no other reason. My wife didn't actually want to make her lunch. She was like, I'd rather her just eat the food at the school. It's easier, kind of check, right? But she kept making her lunch so that she could put the post-it note inside of her lunch. Like that was literally, she was so
Yeah.
excited. And what I found out about that is that my daughter looked forward to it because my wife would say some creative something inside
Oh,
of this little note. And so it was great to see that impact from
no.
what I was doing and then seeing it impact the rest of my family, which created an environment where we're all connected kind of in this same level from a simple thing of a text message.
Yeah. No, and it takes a minute. I love, honor, appreciate, I'm grateful for, and then roll right into it. And it trickles down. I mean, nothing better than when I walk in my kid's room when he was like, I don't know, 14, and I see all the
Mhm.
post-it notes on his mirror, that he's been keeping, kind of stuff. So that's what we got for balance.
All right, this is part two of the show. If you didn't hear part one, go back and listen to that. But this brings us to the conclusion of part two. Tune in next week where we will dive in deeper with part three.